What's up, everybody? I got some bad news and some good news, I guess. Bad news is I wasn't expecting to have sold this car this fast. Good news is the car sold really fast and I wasn't expecting it, because I'll say this, right? And you've already seen this in a different video, and this car is very similar to the Stagea 260 RS. They're essentially the same. The Stagea is just a station wagon version, and this is obviously a coupe, but they have the same drivetrain. The only thing that I feel like I'm missing something the entire time I drive this car. Like, I feel like this car, because I own the Stagea 260 RS, I feel like this car feels a little bit underwhelming. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like I've gotten my fix of the car because I've gotten my satisfaction of the car because I've already had the Stagea 260 RS. I know that's gonna sound crazy to some people because they're completely different cars, but the Stagea 260 RS is it's a unicorn, right? That's what it is, a unicorn. So I say that to say that I'm kind of glad that I didn't have this car that long, because I didn't really feel like I got a lot of satisfaction from this car. Now this car, I mentioned this, there's a little glare from the sun. I'll put this up. That didn't help. And I mentioned this in a previous video, but the Stagea doesn't get the awe factor. Like, oh my gosh, there's a Stagea. No, there's only a handful of people that have actually pointed out the car, and most people are just like, what is this thing? This car gets all the looks, gets everything you could possibly think a GTR would get. And I don't know that the Stagea's ever gonna get to that level, and I don't care if it does, but I prefer the practicality of the Stagea and still having the fun factor of RB26, the Atessa all-wheel drive, and all of the good things that come in this car. So for me in particular, I am not disappointed that the car is selling. I'm actually happy that the car is selling, because there's a few things that I want to talk about that I'll probably talk in a different video, but just a few things I want to mention. And one of the things is that the Stagea 260 RS is essentially this car plus more, because there's plus more. There's more weight, but there's definitely more practicality, and there's definitely more, and I've called it that already. The Stagea is the dad mobile, right? The GTR is a great car. Don't get me wrong. This car is amazing, and it feels like a great car. I don't know if I try the other GTRs, if I try the R32, if I try the R34 out, if they're going to exceed my expectations because of them being lighter cars, being more, not saying that this car isn't like more sporty, but because it's heavier, it takes away from that sportiness that the other cars get, because it is heavier than the R32 and it is heavier than the R34. So maybe because of that, it's why I feel underwhelmed. I'm not really sure, but I will say that the color of this car is amazing. I wish I could put Midnight Purple on the Stagea, but I just couldn't do that to myself. I couldn't go that far. So I don't know. The pearl white on the Stagea is a beautiful color. Maybe one day I'll wrap it. I don't know, but I don't think the Midnight Purple is ever going to get on the Stagea. So now I'm going to pull over somewhere and just give you guys one last look at the car before it leaves, because it's actually expected to get picked up today. It's already been paid for. I was actually in a hurry to sell it, and I'll give you guys a little bit of background on that in a later video. I was actually in a hurry to sell it because I didn't want all my money tied up in the cars right now, because I'm trying to do something else with the money. But yeah, so the cars, there's two more cars that are already imported. I may have talked about one already, but the other one I haven't talked about. But they're probably all going to be sold relatively quickly, because I want to get most of that money back so I can venture off into something else for a short moment. and then I'll come back and, you know, start the car thing again. But for the time being, at least for the next, you know, 6 months maybe, for the next 6 months or so, I will try to cool it on buying cars, and then I'll pick back up once everything settles down and I don't have to worry about anything like that again for that time anyways. I should be good after that. But I've decided that the next car, I do really want to get an R33 GTR just to see how different it is from this. And obviously I won't have them back to back, but I won't be able, so I won't like, I'll have to use muscle memory essentially to figure out if the car is a better car or not. But driving this and the Stagea back to back, there are noticeable differences because of the weight and because of the body style and everything. So obviously, you know, aerodynamics and all that play a huge part in, you know, sporty cars with not a whole lot of horsepower, because most of them aren't meant to go fast. They're supposed to be quick and nimble, right? So there's that. So whenever you have a Stagea, which is the wagon, you end up with a lot of body roll, which the coilovers helped a lot with that. But this car doesn't have coilovers, so I couldn't do, you know, like, it was more like apples to oranges at that point, because I was relying on the stock suspension on this car. But yeah. So let me, like I said, find somewhere real quick, get out of the car, show you guys the car real quick one last time before it is officially gone from my life. So this seems like a decent spot. Oh, this is the same spot that I did the video on the RX-7 before I sold it. It sure is, ain't it? Like I mentioned, the color on this car is absurd. It's surreal, and the camera never picks it up that good. Look at that handprints from the children. I'll have to wipe that off, but camera doesn't pick it up at all. Like this car, the color on this car is magnificent. It's just a beautiful color. Like I said, I wish I could essentially do this color on the Stagea, but I just couldn't do that to the paint because the paint is beautiful on the Stagea as well. The gold wheels, I'm not a fan of it. The coilovers, definitely needs coilovers, but this car, just a beautiful car. I think that whoever owns the R33 GTR, nothing, like I know I mentioned that, you know, I was underwhelmed, but that's because I had the Stagea and I was expecting the R33 to be so much more than it was. And it didn't exceed the expectations that I had for it being a GTR. So there is that. So maybe that's my fault. Maybe I was expecting too much out of the car. But you hear GTR, you hear, you know, the best sounding cars, you hear the quickest cars. But again, these cars are stock, right? So I'm not, maybe that was my fault. I was overly excited about the car and expecting too much from the car. So maybe that was my fault. But that's where we're at. And like I said, we should probably be trying to look for R32 GTR just so I have this car in my mind fresher, and I can determine if the R32 GTR is actually a better car or if it's just another car that is going to disappoint me and underwhelm me. Now, if you all remember, when I first started doing this, when I sold the RX-7, and I said, I'm gonna try out all these cars and see which one of these cars is the better car. And so far, I sold the RX-7 and I regret it because, in my opinion, right, I already have the Stagea 260 RS. In my opinion, the RX-7 is better than this. And I know this is probably gonna make some people mad, but the RX-7 is rear-wheel drive. It has more, you have to be, I hate to say it like this, you do have to be a better driver to have an RX-7. And that's because it's rear-wheel drive. You also have to be a better person in terms of maintenance when you have an RX-7 because it's a rotary. So I feel like the RX-7 is more of an involved car than the GTR that's behind me right now. And I don't want to say that this car, I know I keep saying this car is a great car, okay? I'm saying based off my experience between the R33 GTR, the RX-7, and now obviously I have the Stagea. So they're all different cars, but you put them all on the same pedestal, right? They're all 90s JDMs. So which 90s JDMs are going to be the best 90 JDM? And that is essentially what I'm trying to figure out. And so far, like I said, the FD RX-7 is, in my opinion, a better car than the R33 GTR. The R33 GTR is a great car. It has the right amount of power for the era. It has the right amount of fun factor and still relatively safe because it does have the all-wheel drive system. And at the end of the day, these cars are 25 plus years old. I'm not expecting them to be the best cars in the world, but in terms of reliability, obviously you got to give it to the RB26. You got to give it to the GTR, because the RX-7 is just, you know, the worst car in terms of reliability when we're talking about 90s JDMs. And I hate that that's the fact of the way things are, because the RX-7, again, I regret selling it now, because I was trying out all these cars and I was like, maybe I'll figure out which car is the best. And I regret selling it now because so far it's been the best car that I've owned. And the funny thing is, before the RX-7, I actually owned a NA Miata. So first generation Miata. And that car was so fun, so pure, so beautiful, so easy to handle, because it was 100 horsepower and it was just the perfect driving machine. The RX-7 topped that. I was so impressed with the RX-7. I was so glad that I owned the RX-7. And then I decided, why not try them all out? And then I sold the RX-7, got the Stagea. I was so impressed by the Stagea, because the Stagea is, in fact, a huge car, but it handles so beautifully. You don't even expect it. The Stagea is the definition of a sleeper, a 90s JDM sleeper, if you ask me. It doesn't look like a fast car, but it is a fast car, because it's essentially a GTR underneath the skeleton. Or inside the skeleton, underneath the skin, underneath the metal, I don't know. But this car here, I'm not saying that it's a bad car. I'm just saying that the RX-7, in my opinion, impressed me more than the R33 GTR. And I was the only one, unfortunately, got to drive this car. My cousin didn't get to drive this car, even though he went with me to pick it up. My other cousin didn't get a chance to drive the car, even though his favorite all-time car is the R33 GTR. But he didn't get to drive it because, like I said, I was in a rush to sell it because I needed the money for other things. And once all that clears out, I'll get an R32 GTR, and I will figure out if the R32 GTR is a better GTR than the R33. And with that said, if you made it this far into the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that I put out in the future. As always, peace. Beautiful car, beautiful color, man. Yeah.